This video is going to show you how I use paper masking and my Glowforge to create a stencil for easy painting. The materials I use here are Transferite paper masking, and I'm using a 5mm underlayment from Home Depot. In this case, I have already used my laser cutter, my Glowforge, to cut a circle, and I had pre-masked the underlayment, and so I just scored at a 15 power using thick draft board settings. I scored my design into the masking. Another design that I did, I engraved, and I used 3M tape, double-sided tape, to adhere the name to the sign. But again, this one I wanted to paint the background rather than engrave, so I thought I'd show you how easy it is to do that. So this is the medium tack, if I didn't already mention that, from Transferite, and I am wanting to have kind of the same look where I don't have any stain or paint. It's just the natural wood as I bought it. But in this case, I'm going to use a black paint for my M rather than the dark engraved setting. And I just have a little cup of paint here already pre-dispensed that I've been using for my projects. And I'm going to use a makeup wedge or a painter's wedge. And these come in a good size bag for pretty cheap, and I ordered them from Amazon. You can get them directly from Target or Walmart or any of the stores where you buy makeup also. I've already been using this one for another project. Got it. And it's already dry, so I'm going to use the other side because I like to not waste. So what we're going to do is just go ahead and remove the masking in the area, and it was scored, so it removes nice and easy. And again, I used 15% power with the thick draft board settings. So one thing that you will want to do is to take a credit card or something and make sure that your masking is down really well all around your letters. Otherwise your paint is going to just about for sure bleed where any of those gaps are. I'm just going to use my finger now because I've already done it. Times with the other stuff, I'm going to go over a little more after I removed masking. Let's use my middle finger there. So the most important thing and the biggest trick to getting this to go on without bleeding is to use less paint than you would ever expect that you're needing to, especially for that first layer. So put your makeup sponge lightly into your paint cup, and I can do it. I made sure that I didn't have any dust or anything on here ahead of time, but I dab the excess paint off onto either a paper plate, my painter's tape here, something, so that my first layer, there's almost nothing on there. And you are just going to go and lightly dab over the area. I'm going to grab a little more here. And we're just going to lightly cover the whole area that you weeded out with this paint. When your base layer is painted, say you have a white base layer, a lot of people like to use the color of the base layer as their first layer that they also use in the stenciled out or cut out area. I typically don't. I'm just trying to be really careful to make sure that nothing's going to bleed through, but nothing is more disappointing than having bleeding go through your stencil. It makes the wood sign look amateur, and it's basically a waste of a project if it's something that you plan to sell. So this is just regular acrylic craft paint, and it dries really quick. So depending on the paint that you are using, you know, again, you're putting on such a thin layer that it should dry almost immediately. But once you get that bottom layer on there, you're going to want to kind of just go through and repeat the process again until you've reached your desired darkness. But never get so much paint on your sponge that you're leaving behind anything that, I mean, even less than a puddle. I mean, it shouldn't be leaving anything other than the dabbed color really behind, because anything that has thickness to it is going to be a good potential to be getting underneath your paper. And when you're cutting out your laser cut shapes also, and you're painting them after you've already cut them rather than before, same thing, just using almost no paint on your brush and just dabbing over the top of your pieces. That's how I did it with the name Maya here. You're doing kind of the same thing and just being really careful that otherwise the paint's going to seep down on the side and not look so nice over those laser. I think I'd like my black to be nice and bold, so I might go over it with one more coat. I also don't like to go too much because this is paper masking, and even though there's an adhesive under it, I don't want it to get too wet, and I don't want to rub on it too much. Kind of going back to methods that other people use, I've tried and used. Just for under your base layer, some people also like to put a layer of Mod Podge, and that can help prevent the bleeding also. But I really think that if you stick to keeping your layers thin, those alternative steps really aren't all that necessary, and they just take a little longer to dry. The other thing is sometimes I find with Mod Podge is a base layer that it sometimes wants to peel up a little bit maybe. So, and I don't wait for anything to dry. Now that I have it as dark as I want it, and you can just, hopefully you can see there, I'm just going to go ahead and peel off the remainder of the masking. I'm never that great at getting a edge right away. So, you know, try to be careful to an extent when you're going around your leathers as I'm dropping one pieces. So, as you can see, and that is just dirt where I just dropped. That's not actually paint there. And as you can see, I got a nice crisp black line. I may even have gone over that one more time, but that's dark enough. That's here. Let's see how it is in comparison to the engraved version. So, there's a little bit of wood burn. I got to burn or sand off on that corner. But yeah, that's a simple way to eliminate having that extra step of having to create a stencil with your Cricut or Silhouette machine, or however you're making your stencils. It if you're planning to have your base layer painted or stained, you're going to want to do that prior to running it through your Glowforge and scoring it. And if it's an oil-based stain, I'm not sure if it's safe to run that through your laser after it's already been stained or not. I would do your own research on that. I haven't researched that yet, but if you're using a water-based stain, it should be just fine, or paint. So I hope that gives you a new idea for painting. In my next video, I'll just give you a little heads up of what I'm going to do. In my previous video, I showed you how I run grooves through my pieces for framing my wood signs. And the purpose of that is so that I can use really thin, just 1/4 inch or even 1/8 inch wood as a backing rather than the thick plywood. And I am not the best shot with my nail gun. So I tend to want to blow a nail through the back of my plywood. So this just makes it where it's pretty much foolproof. It's locked in. The only nailing I have to do is in the corner of the frames, and nothing's gonna get, no mistakes will happen that way. That's nice and easy to shoot through. So I will show you in my next video how I assemble this and make a project with the site. Thank you. Have a good day.